Shalom, Shalom and welcome. My name is Symmanayah and I want to welcome you to the White Rose Family Channel. This is a series called In Line because there's so much information together. It is a message or a series of messages to those drawn by the Almighty Father. He who I believe is called by Yahuah, who sent his word in Yahusha's name. So it is important that we use the name Yahusha, for it reflects the plan that he laid out. No Trinity. It's just when we say Yahusha, we recognize that Yahusha is the word of Yahuah that made it possible for us to reach a set-apart state, to be born again, to be saved by the power and might in the word of the Almighty Father. In this segment of In Line, I want to talk about getting to know. Getting to know. Knowledge is important, O Yashar'al, and there are those among us who think more highly of themselves that would rather play down knowledge. But the knowledge that the Almighty Father wants us to have is to be able to utilize that knowledge for the building up of a set-apart nation, a set-apart family. Avoid those who just throw knowledge out. Sometimes they throw knowledge out because they don't understand the knowledge that a person possesses. Each of us have a function that the Almighty Father has put on us that gives us responsibility to exercise why he gave us knowledge to a particular thing or matter. Take a moment, my brothers and sisters. Take a moment and think about, who would you let in your house? Whether it's temporary or permanent, for a visit or long term. Pause and reflect on what would be your expectations of those who you will allow to live with you. Do you think your house, apartment, or car, wherever you reside, tent, do you think that space where you live, would you just open it to anybody? Or would you guard and protect it? Would you have certain expectations of conduct that you would expect from someone that is visiting you? I will present the case why it is important to begin getting to know who and what's around us, my brothers and sisters, as we move about our day-to-day. And if we develop actions to pay attention to those whom we come in contact, we will begin to exercise senses that we probably didn't know we had, abilities that we probably didn't know we had. Getting to know. It is important that we learn how to vet, how to examine people before we let them in our house. And I will present the case, my brothers and sisters, that our bodies is a house of the Spirit of Yahuah, who comes in Yahusha's name. Our body, singular and collectively, we are the house of the Almighty Father. Reflect on what will your expectations be as I present this case, my brothers and sisters, regarding our day-to-day movement. You see, there's a such thing as if we practice, we become better at it. For some reason, people who have joined camps, communities, and groups and fellowships for various reasons and have not made a concerted effort or a sincere effort to get to know the leadership, to get to know that community, that camp. They say, well, that'll come later. Do you know if we spend time saying, well, it'll come later, and not take the moments to get to know who we're putting ourselves under, or who we're giving our time to, End times will prove to demand that we understand the realities of what must be done, O Yashar'al. There are days to get informed and seek to discern, my brothers and sisters, the voice of Abba Yahuah, who comes in Yahusha's name. By seeking to encounter the spirit of Yahusha, we may just realize true discernment, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and why it is important for these end times. I cannot stress enough the need to get to know one another is important. Let me present this here, my brothers and sisters. For getting to know means to obtain knowledge about that person, that thing, that matter. And knowledge begins with the Almighty Father. And I believe, and I say this often, the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. The fear of Yahuah is pause. It brings pause. More and more do I hear people saying, don't fear, don't be afraid. But they don't qualify that by saying, don't be afraid of what man can do. I hear so many people, if I was to take a measuring cup and put a stick in that cup, a toothpick in that cup, every time someone talks about don't be afraid or fear, and then put in a cup where they emphasize the fear of Yahuah, that cup, that first cup would be filled. I strongly encourage you, if you are a teacher and influence, a brother who wants to grow strong and obey the Almighty Father, know that conditions are ramping up to bring fear of Yahuah, not what man can do, to bring that pause to seek to discern what he's saying to us, through us, one towards another, or through his chosen guides, his chosen shepherds, leaders, pastors, deacons. Do not despise wisdom and discipline, my brothers and sisters. Knowledge, to get to know, it starts with Yahuah. So many people forget that Yahuah is the beginning and the end. So I find myself compelled to read Revelations 22, 11 through 13. Hear me closely, my brothers and sisters. He who does wrong, let him do more wrong. He who is filthy, let him be more filthy. He who is righteous, let him be more righteous. He who is set apart, let him be more set apart. And see, I am coming speedily, and my reward is with me to give to each according to his work. I am the Aleph and the Tah, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. It is important for us to know our place and recognize that our journey begins with the Almighty Father Yahuah, drawing us to his word, which comes in Yahusha's name. The name of Yahusha reflects the word of Yahuah. My brothers and sisters, let's visit John 6:43 and 44. John 6:43 and 44 says, Then Yahusha answered and said to him, Do not grumble with one another. No one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I shall raise him up in the last day. We must get to know he who is the Almighty One. We must get to know that his word, Yahusha, is our teacher, our guide, our helper. Come over to 14th chapter of John, verse 25 and 26. It says, These words I have spoken to you while still with you. But the helper, the set apart spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, he shall teach you all and remind you of all that I've said to you. So many miss this, my brothers and sisters. It say the helper, the set apart. Many people rather say the Ruach HaKadosh, which means set apart spirit, when the scriptures clearly states the importance of the name Yahusha. That is the name of the set apart spirit. The set apart spirit of Yahuah comes in Yahusha's name, sent in Yahusha's name. This is what John 14:26. It is our comprehension, the way we've been taught how to read and comprehend words, that sometimes distort our perception of what's being said. Understand that there's an order, there's a sequence. So many people rather say Yah to be on the safe side or the Most High, and they fail to recognize the importance of the name Yahusha. Getting to know and becoming more informed of an individual's thoughts require prayer, studying, discerning, and understanding. If you read in Matthew 9:4, you'll see where it says Yahusha knew their thoughts. And if the Spirit of Yahusha dwells in us, if the Spirit of the Almighty Father dwells within us, is it not possible that He will reveal to us the thoughts of an individual? This is what true discernment is, when the Spirit of Yahusha uncovers, make known, reveal, bring understanding. My brothers and sisters, we must have responsibilities to one another. If we fail to take steps regarding getting to know what is expected, it will lead to pain and regret. So many have joined with others without taking thorough steps to become fully aware of what should be done first. Get to know one another, my brothers and sisters. Getting to know for such a time as this. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be afraid to seek this, to discern the answers that they present before you, whether they are of set apart direction or not. Let me present why our house requires us to step into positions of getting to know. I talked about your house. Who would you allow in your house? What would you expect for those that come into your house, whether it be temporary or permanent? Well, if you have those expectations for your house, how much more should we have those same expectations for the house of Yahuah? And the house of Yahuah is you, me. The set-apart body of Yahuah is the house of Yahuah. So how many of us get into understanding and knowing that house? That requires getting to know one another. Consider Peter, 1 Peter 4:17 through 19. For it reads, because it is time for judgment to begin from the house of the Almighty One, and if firstly from us. So it's letting you know that the house of the Almighty One is us. It said, what is the end of those who do not obey the good news of the Almighty One? It actually reads Elohim in the scripture version 2009, but Elohim is plural for mighty ones. So I am compelled to say Almighty One, for Yahuah is the Almighty One. Let me continue. And if the righteous one is scarcely saved, where shall the wicked and the sinner appear? So then, those who suffer according to the desire of the Almighty One should commit their lives to a trustworthy Creator in doing good. The house of Yahuah, that's us. What are our expectations? Are we really getting to know one another, or are we just acquiescing, giving in to compromising disagreements? No, you're not going to find that perfect assembly. But we will find the assembly that pursue earnestly the will of the Almighty Father, and who will yield to His discipline, His correction. So do not become slothful and lazy, passive, and give in to things that you know are contrary to the ways of the Almighty Father. 2 Corinthians 6:16 through 18. Come with me as I read that. 2 Corinthians 6:16 through 18 says, what union has the dwelling place of the Almighty One with idols? For you are a dwelling place of the living Almighty One, as Yahuwah has said, I shall dwell in them and walk among them, and I shall be their Almighty One, and they shall be my people. Therefore come out from among them and be separate, says Yahuwah, and do not touch what is unclean, and I shall receive you. And I shall be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says Yahuwah, the Almighty One. My brothers and sisters, the Almighty. Getting to know. Sometimes we don't know the right questions to ask. We don't know how to approach a person. Pray, my brothers and sisters. It's time to realize that many have chosen to be in compromising communities, camps, and groups, fellowships. Be advised, such assemblies have an appointment with failure and destruction unless they yield to corrections, the discipline of the Almighty Father. Compromising communities have an appointment with destruction if we don't see evidence of the Almighty Father's discipline, refining and strengthening that community, that camp, that group, that fellowship. Take a look at these words, O Yashar'al. Matthew 12:25. Matthew 12:25 says, and Yahusha knew their thoughts and said to them, every reign divided against itself is laid waste, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. When you see these communities, camps, and groups with different cliques, different small groups of people saying, well, I don't agree with the leadership, but you're not going to find a perfect assembly. When you see inside a community, a camp, or group, differences, and they're not working to come and iron out those differences to be as one, and the leadership tolerate it, know that fellowship group have an appointment with destruction. It cannot stand. Or before that, it may be just the severe hand of discipline. Pray, O Yashar'al. Do not waste time with someone who embrace compromising behaviors within their group. Mark 3:24 and 26 says, and if a reign is divided against itself, that reign is unable to stand. And if a house is divided against itself, that house is unable to stand. And if Satan has risen up against himself and is divided, he is unable to stand, but has an end. I cannot stress enough how we must begin to ask ourselves, what do these conditions resemble now, right before us? What do that resemble? What are we doing about it? There will be time where you may be the messenger to bring correction, and there will be times to purge or come away. I strongly encourage each of us to pursue the wisdom needed to avoid being in situations where a group is failing because they are divided against themselves. Stay with me, my brothers and sisters. There's more regarding getting to know. I can't stress enough how we must learn to seek out what the Almighty Father has to say about a matter. Come with me to 1 Corinthians 12, verse 4 through 10. It says, and there are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit. There are different kinds of services, but the same Master. There are different kinds of working, but it is the same Almighty One who is working all in all. And to each one is given the manifestation of the Spirit for profiting. For to one is given a word of wisdom through the Spirit, to another a word of knowledge according to the same Spirit, and to another belief by the same Spirit, and to another gifts of healing by the same Spirit, and to another operations of power, and to another prophecy, and to another discerning of spirits, and to another kinds of tongues, and to another interpretation of tongues. There's more. I'm still in the 12th chapter of 1 Corinthians. He goes on to say, but one and the same Spirit works all these, distributing to each one individually as he intends. For as the body is one and has many members, but all the members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is the Messiah. For indeed by one Spirit we were all immersed into one body, whether Yehudim or Greeks, whether slaves or free, and we were all made to drink into one Spirit. For indeed the body is not one member, but many. I want to pause for a minute. When it says whether Yehudim or Greek, you have some people take this passage and think that it doesn't matter whether Yehudim or Greek. This is not true. Understand there's much that will occur where we must identify as Yehudim, as Yashar'al. We must be able to identify the Greeks that have been set apart. Some versions say Gentiles. So this is saying basically the set apart ones versus other nations. But there are those who will come from other nations, who will be saved, who are being drawn, who are saved, grafted together as a sojourner into the body of the set apart children of Yashar'al. And this is important. But when we look at the spirit of an individual, we don't call out Yehudim or Greek. We call out the set apart brother, the set apart member of one body. But remember, Revelation 7 chapter, in order for it to be fulfilled, we must know the 12 tribes of Yashar'al. And we must recognize that it also says in the 9th verse in that 7th chapter, it speaks of a great multitude of many nations, kindreds, and tongues. Let me continue. If the foot says, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, does it therefore not belong to the body? No. If the foot said that, if somebody in the member said, I'm going to do me and you do you, and act as though we're separate from one another, not realizing we are of one body, offer correction or walk away and pray for that brother or sister. These people that's running around, they're talking about my ministry, do you and I do me, and don't worry about what I do. But yet they push that they believe the scriptures. There's more to read. Stay with me and seek to discern, my brothers and sisters, how important it is to demonstrate in actions that reflect getting to know. Know the right questions. And when the answers come, seek to discern what must be done. Know this, my set apart family, Yashar'al will come into unity. Let me continue some more. There's more to pick up in the 12th chapter of 1 Corinthians. The 16th verse says, and if the ear says, because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body, does it therefore not belong to the body? If all the body was an eye, where would the hearing be? Where would be the hearing? If all hearing, where would be the smelling? But now the Almighty One has set the members, each one of them, in the body, even as he pleased. And if they all had been one member, where would the body be? And now there are indeed many members, but one body. And an eye is unable to say to the hand, I have no need of you. Or again, the head to the feet, I have no need of you. But much rather, those members of the body which are thought to be weaker are necessary. And to those of the body which we think to be less respected, these we present greater respect. And our unseemly members have greater seemliness. There's more. Yes, I'm taking you through this whole chapter, my brothers and sisters, for the most part. Verse 24, still in the 12th chapter of 1 Corinthians. It says, whereas our seemly members have no need, but the Almighty One blended together the body, having given greater respect to that member which lacks it, that there should be no division in the body, but that the members should have the same concern one for another. And if one member suffers, all members suffer with it. And if one member is esteemed, all members rejoice with it. And you are a body of Messiah and members individually. And the Almighty One has appointed these in the assembly. Firstly, emissaries. Secondly, prophets. Thirdly, teachers. After that, miracles. Then gifts of healing, helps, ministrations, kinds of tongues. All are emissaries. all our prophets? No. Are all emissaries? No. Are all prophets? And I'm answering no. Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Do all have gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But earnestly seek the better gifts, and yet I show you a more excellent way. Could the better gift be the least of the gifts? For the least is made great. Pray about that, my brothers and sisters. Let us begin asking questions, more questions, and even more questions of one another. By using this strategy, it makes room for numerous discoveries. I once had an opportunity while in the workforce to present ideas and solutions that could better an entire community, an entire region. But because the majority could not comprehend how to execute these ideas, those who understood it did not number enough to make it happen. Thus, the community began to fail. Even more so, the conditions in that community made it unpleasant for many. Why am I saying this? Because I'm saying right now, there are pastors, bishops, priests, deacons, they're teachers, because they don't understand the duties of all the members of the set-apart body, because they may not be knowledgeable of the expertise that Yahuah has given that individual. They ignore it. They ignore that person's skill. They take it for granted. This will change. Getting to know, in the discipline of the Almighty Father, we will get to know the duties and responsibilities, the skills and the expertise that the Almighty Father is given his set-apart body, and how together, by getting to know, we will function as a more unified nation, set apart by the power and might of the word of the Almighty Father. When discoveries are made, my brothers and sisters, we find ourselves getting to know more, making us stronger. We then faced with making decisions regarding drawing closer, purging, or coming away. Yashar'al, I can't stress how, as end times ramp up, there are things that we will find ourselves doing. Those who will be among the ranks of the children of obedience. Those who will recognize the Spirit of Yahuah working in us, through us, one towards another, and through his pastors, his bishops, his deacons, his teachers, his leaders, through a brother, through a sister, through a child. Getting to know. Don't be seduced by those who put down knowledge. Sometimes they put down knowledge because they don't understand. I saw a couple with their title and many, many followers. And they echo the fact that don't follow your heart. I've used the term follow your heart. And they said, don't listen to that. They didn't mention my name, but they just said, don't listen to people saying follow your heart. The scripture says the heart is deceitfully wicked. This is where I'm talking about getting to know. If you know the scriptures, you'll see in Proverbs 4th chapter, where it states the heart as being the sources of life. Let me make sure I take you to that exact verse. Bear with me, my brothers and sisters. Proverbs 4th chapter. "23rd verse says, watch over your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the sources of life." You see, That particular heart that is talking about is the spirit of a man. And if you search the scriptures, you'll see there are writings that talks about the heart, and it's talking about the inward man, and it uses the word mind in that same passage to talk about the brain. So when it talks about the heart is deceitfully wicked, that's talking about the brain. Why? Because that's consistent with the flesh warring against the spirit. The brain is flesh. That's consistent with being programmed and influenced by those in our household, whether it be on the workplace, whether it be in the community, the neighborhood, wherever we are among others. That type of influence, that psychological, that mental influence that programmed us to read and interpret the way that teacher taught us. That particular heart is deceitfully wicked because it's part of the brain in the flesh and it wars against the spirit. But the heart of the body, inside the spirit of man, the inward man. So the scriptures talk about heart in two different ways. And I'm saying that there is a couple with many followers who will boldly say, don't follow your heart. Watch and get to know Yahusha, and he will reveal the inward man. He will reveal that heart, the center point that will live forever, that have received everlasting life. There is a difference, O Yashar'al. And I will talk more about it. But beware, no matter what a person say they are, get to know them. Get to know the people that are quick to speak and do not open their hearts and mind to the spirit of Yahuah to make straight and bring balance. When there's criticism of a person or a thing, understand the full dynamics of what the scriptures say, lest you find yourself bearing false witness against an obedient one. Our abilities are sometimes clouded by titles and narratives of many individuals who walk with confidence, but are confidently wrong. Beware of such individuals, my brothers and sisters. If they are reluctant to yield to correction, come away from such. Pray for them and watch the disciplined hand of the Almighty Father. For how and what method he used to discipline, we have no control over. But believe me, discipline will come. Soon we will witness a surprising number of leaders face extreme corrections. For the final exodus is real and will come to be. There will be those who will yield to refinement, and there will be individuals who will stand by their actions. Again, beware. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, remember these words. Come with me to 1 Corinthians 5:6 as I come gradually to an end. 1 Corinthians 5:6 says, your boasting is not good. Do you not know that a little leaven leavens the entire lump? You see, when a leader, a pastor, a bishop, when they tolerate compromising influencers within their camp, group, or communities, that little bit of wickedness that is being tolerated can fester and cause a rebellion. Getting to know, ask questions, get down to the root, the seed of a matter, know the function, get beyond the form, the flair, and the excuses. Galatians, come with me to Galatians 5:9. It reads, a little leaven leavens the whole lump, leavens all the lump, rather. I say often, my brothers and sisters, have discussions on matters to uncover the true positions of people. Take the time, my brothers and sisters, regarding getting to know. Don't be afraid that in doing so, it may lead to you having to come away from that person, that group, that community, that camp. Don't be afraid of being lonely. You see, at one time Elijah thought he was all alone. And he went in a cave. And Yahuah asked him, what you doing in this cave? I'm paraphrasing. Bottom line is Yahuah let him know that there were hundreds of others who served him and that Elijah was not alone. You are not alone. And in these end times, those who are walking in obedience that may seem alone right now will discover that they are not alone. We are not alone. Even Hebrews 12:1 lets us know there's so great a cloud of witnesses. There are more people pursuing the will of the Almighty Father than we can imagine. Sometimes we're wasting time with compromising communities, camps. And if we're involved with something that we know is wicked, and we're just talking about the leadership, that is not right. Speak to the leadership, gain understanding, and if that understanding leads to things that are contrary to the word as it is made alive, come away from it. And you may find, coming away from them, you will meet up with someone who is walking in obedience. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, I've seen too many leaders bear false witness to obedient ones because they didn't want to be embarrassed of something that should have been simple to yield to. Pray and watch. Getting to know you. Do you think 144,000 great multitude will come together without them getting to know one another? Rise up, O Yashar'al, and be encouraged. There's much work to be done. Soon and very soon, we will come together. We will come closer together. My instructions to you now is to begin to identify brothers and sisters that are in close proximity and talk about coming together and then moving together towards that place where the Almighty Father will have you to go. For the final Exodus has a destination, and there will be intimate movement. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, getting to know can make a difference. I thank you for your time, your tolerance, your pursuit of set apartness. I pray that this message ring a bell, clicks on a light, encourages you, my brother, my sister, my family. I pray that we grow stronger and stronger in discerning the presence of the Spirit of Yahuah, whose word come to us in Yahusha's name, that we may understand what must and will come to be. On that note, I say thank you. Shalom, my brother, my sister, my family.